Good evening, everyone, and thanks to John Leach, Regional Organiser of the RMT, for his time this evening. I'm Dean O'Hanlon. I'm a Trains Functional Council rep for the RMT, and we're both currently in talks with London Underground about the dispute, the night tube dispute, which is currently occurring, and there's notified strike action in the book for next week. So, John, could you just maybe explain why have we come from being like heroes during the pandemic, coming out of that, to zeros and London Underground basically provoking a dispute with us? So, John, over to you, mate, if you'd like to explain a bit more.
Yeah, thanks very much, Dean, and thanks very much for giving me this opportunity to talk to all of our members, train drivers, men and women, fantastic workforce, part of London Underground. And you're right, you know, who would have thought it at the beginning of the pandemic, let alone halfway through, 18 months later, we'd be not even out of it, and we'd be in the fight of our lives to defend hard fought and won conditions that our members have got on London Underground trains, up to including having to go on strike next week. 2016, the union, all the unions actually, in London Underground, signed a multi-year pay deal, which also included the arrangements for night tube. It was a deal, it was an agreement, it was a contract between the unions and the company, and it was contractual for the staff that it applies to. And that's really important, because what it means is, it means the employer is obliged to stick with those arrangements until the recognised unions, all of them that are affected by that particular part of it, agree to change it. And that's a really important principle. It gives people control of their lives. It means the unions have got influence. It means that what we say is listened to. And basically, it's the bedrock of all change. It means that multi-year pay deals have to be honoured. It means that people are treated properly. So we made this deal, and in actual fact, we went on strike to get that. And there was a settlement created for trains, and we're talking about train drivers this evening, 200 specific jobs. But what was really important, as well as creating those jobs for those people and a line of promotion for some, was what it meant for all the other train drivers in London Underground. Because what it meant for those was, it meant they would never ever have to do night tube duties. And that was really important. We didn't want to see people working more weekends particularly. We certainly didn't want to see shift work getting worse. And we didn't want people to have to drive passenger trains through the night. And, you know, they tried to offer us money to do this, and we turned that down. What we said was, what mattered to us was control of your working hours and people's work-life balance. Anyway, we reached an agreement, and guess what? I've got a copy of it here, okay? And I think it's worthwhile me reading a couple of extracts from it. You know, I'll be as quick as I can. So it's an offer of dispute resolution prepared for ASLEF RMT Tester and Unite, dated the 21st of January, 2016. And it says, this document outlines a settlement proposal for the following issues of dispute. And it does talk about other things like the rates of pay and conditions of service. It talks about all the various arrangements for staff in London Underground. Now, when it comes down to talking about train drivers, which is what this dispute's about, it's really important we get the words right here. This is what we're, for want of a better way of describing it, fighting to defend. Night tube. Commitments to staff. LUL and the trade unions jointly commit to minimising the reduction of all-night passenger service operation by recruiting more staff, by putting in place roster patterns that minimise loss of weekends, and to have a review at all functional levels afterwards. And then it talks about the various grades. And when we get down to trains, here it says exactly what we agreed. And it says, LUL will recruit more part-time train operators to work the night tube shifts, employ these new part-time operators for at least 15 hours a week. Part-time operators will work their contracted hours. A framework agreement applies, pay them the rate and terms and conditions, and ensure they have the same training standards. And this is the absolute pinpoint important part. It says here, all existing London Underground train operators will be given the choice whether or not to become a night tube train operator, would have priority to move to these roles over any external applicants. And no existing train operator will therefore need to work the night tube unless they choose to do so. And that's binding, and that's contractual, and that's ours. And when we accepted that, we had a vote. We voted, every member of the union on the job at that time voted for it overwhelmingly to accept it. And that was the way things were for many years, right through to the pandemic. What we've ended up with is another proposal that they've said is now happening, which says you will have to work night tube, any London Underground train operator, when it's your turn. You might be able to chuck it over the counter. You might be able to get a changeover, but for an enhanced rate, but it's not guaranteed. You will do night tube duties on rota lines, which may include other shifts. Therefore, work-life balance will get worse. And 200 jobs will vanish. And we've said we need to know where those jobs will resurface and what the headcount is affected like. And we're getting brushed off. And we're at ACAS last week and this week, only to be told that these are their red lines in the sand and there's no going back as far as London Underground is concerned. So we've had to take a very, very hard position, and our members are behind us because we've had the ballot. So my message tonight is we have to stand by what we've already agreed. It's critically important that we actually hold the line here, because last week London Underground were also talking about how a load of other agreements are no longer, in their opinion, fit for purpose, and they need more flexibility. And what are they going to try and impose there? So we're going to stand firm, Dean. That's the background. That's the agreement that they want to bulldoze, and they think they've got an agreement with when they haven't. And that's why we're going to have to go on strike to demonstrate that this is totally unacceptable. As far as the RMT is concerned, our responsibility is to make things better for our members, not worse, and not do management's bidding by helping them bring in something that is worse for our members. So, I feel very passionate about this. There's a lot of people come under a lot of pressure in the last 18 months. And the last thing they should be faced with now is their job being turned inside and out like this.
So, John, yeah, that's very, very clearly explained. So from what I take from your contribution, is the main issue is for us is the voluntary nature of night tubers. Obviously, at the moment, no full-time driver, TO21 as it's known on the job, is forced to work night tube. We have no assurance on job numbers. If I'm right, that's the position.
Yep.
The night tube arrangement, as it is, clearly protects the work-life balance of our members, which obviously means no more night work, and obviously weekend rest days, etc. There's some in management are saying this is a fair deal, John. What do you have to say to that? Do you think this is a fair deal?
Not a fair deal. It's worse than what was before. They are cornered on this, because they think they can impose a contractual change on thousands of tube drivers' terms, conditions of employment when they know they can't. And they also know that when it comes to scrutiny, this is something that makes your life as a train driver worse. And it's not fairer for people. And the people who are saying it don't do the job. I'm not a train driver, but I represent train drivers. And our representatives in these grades at every single depot understand that this isn't fairer, and our members do. And that's why, despite the backdrop of everything else that we know that's going on out in the world right now, members have voted to take industrial action. And it's with a heavy heart we're doing this. We don't want to do it. We want to get on moving London, keep on moving London. But it's just plain wrong. And frankly, London Underground need to take a good hard look in the mirror, get a grip of themselves, and show some proper manners and respect to their own workforce. Back off, shelve this, come back to the table and tell us what their problems are, and we'll sit down and we'll have a look and see what we can do that works for both parties. But at the moment, the one thing this isn't is fair.
Thanks, John. That's very helpful. We'll send this message to our members on the tube. We're obviously keen to understand what the issues are and what the latest is from the ACAS talks. Is there any more talks planned, at the moment? I mean, a lot of our members will be asking, are we going back to the table? Anything news on that at all?
Starts at 12 noon next Tuesday. Today's Tuesday. We've got a week to go. You were there yesterday, Dean, along with other colleagues from the TFC and myself. And as I said to the director from London Underground and to the conciliators from ACAS, I'm only at the end of a phone. We'll be in. We'll do it whichever way you want it, socially distanced, face-to-face, so to speak, COVID compliant. We'll do it on Teams. We'll be there. If RMT members need to be represented, we'll be there. So we are available. But the ball is in their court. And we're always available for further talks, and they may come. But at the moment, that phone ain't ringing. And London Underground are probably sitting there hoping this will all go away, only it won't. My message tonight to our members is like the one I said yesterday when I was at Plestra at London Underground is be strong, stand firm, stick together like you have in the last 18 months and before when we actually got this agreement. They'll call you heroes all the way till now, but come next Tuesday, we'll hear all kinds of appalling things said about us. Ignore all that rubbish. You are heroes, and this union is about making things better, not worse. So my message is stand firm and have the confidence of knowing we are in the right and they've done something they need to just back off and get rid of. Okay,
John, thanks once again for your time. That was John Leach, the lead negotiator in this dispute and negotiator at ACAS. We'll just end the meeting, just a reminder to all our train grades members, we're a member-led union, and this dispute has been reported a number of times at train grades committee meetings, and you'll be invited to a meeting on Thursday at 2:30, and keep an eye out maybe for a mass meeting, which is being planned for 4 o'clock on Monday. So unfortunately it'll be on Zoom due to the COVID restrictions, but look out for those meetings. Hopefully John will be able to join us at one or two of those meetings and give you news from ACAS and where we're going with this dispute. John, thanks for your time once again.
Yeah.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.